7 comes out. And oh boy, Phil, it's a recent one. But it's one that at the time was massive and still is massive for an entirely different reason. But milestone number 7 is the Broncos make a blockbuster trade for Russell Wilson. Zach Bye was on the air at the time, infamously said, "This is not a drill. We have breaking Broncos news right now."
How did you feel about that moment before we start? Where were you at, and what were you thinking?
Well, all right, so let's go back. About 90 minutes before that happened, it was reported that Aaron Rodgers was going back to the Packers.
I heard.
And we were all so ticked, man, because for months we'd been prepping Rodgers. Now, that wouldn't have worked out either. You know, it obviously didn't work out in New York. But I even remember guys like James Merrillatt was like writing a column at denversports.com. Like, I can't believe the Broncos missed out. You know, they missed a golden opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. And then this bomb has dropped out of nowhere that they've traded for Russell Wilson and given up a heck of a lot. And we'll go through that in a couple of minutes. But I just think because we were all so disappointed about Rodgers that we were running through the streets. Not because Russell Wilson had fallen off a cliff at that point. He hadn't. He had made, 9 Pro Bowls in 10 years or whatever. But we felt so spurned by Rodgers that it was like a good little double bird, like, we don't need you anyway. We got Russ.
Yeah.
Those were our emotions in the time. You were still in the league.
I was.
What were you thinking when you saw that trade?
Well, the first thing was like, damn, man, how can I get back to Denver?
Really?
Yeah. It's like, it's Russell Wilson. It's Russell Wilson who's with the Seattle Seahawks and doing some great things, winning Super Bowls, always in it, made some crazy plays. And I was like, George made a huge move. Like, that was his first big move. George Payton, we're talking about the general manager of the Denver Broncos, that was his first big move. And I was like, okay, he's making that big move. He's confident, and maybe they're going to have that Peyton Manning effect where Peyton comes into play and we go and win a Super Bowl. And it's like, Russ has won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. Like, this could be the case for the Denver Broncos, and it ended up not being the case, but that's what I was feeling at that time.
Yeah, so you were thinking, how can I get back to Denver and play with those guys? I remember going to all the press conferences. Like Cortland Sutton had a press conference that offseason and was like, he just looked like a totally different guy. I mean, he had played with, Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian and Case Keenum and Joe Flacco. He was thinking that what you were thinking, like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Phil, I raised my hand. I messed up. I wrote a column that the 2022 Broncos were going to go 12-5. Believe they went 5-12.
Well, it fuels the fire when you have Russ that goes to the podium and says, like, Super Bowls, like he's winning a bunch of them. Like, he's thinking about multiple championships, multiple Super Bowls. Like, of course, everybody's going to be up for it. It's the Denver Broncos, and we've been in a quarterback carousel that we were ready to latch on to anything.
He said, and I was in the auditorium at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit. I was, 50 feet away from the guy. He said, I want to play 10 to 12 more years and win 3 to 4 more Super Bowls. I mean, how laughable does that look in retrospect? The Broncos took on the largest dead cap in NFL history to get this guy. Sean Payton chewed him out in Detroit when Russ didn't respond. Nathaniel Hackett got fired after 15 games. Greg Penner was a brand new owner, and even he's like, I got to fire this guy. This guy's incompetent at his job. Yeah. Like, this was one of the biggest trades in NFL history. The Broncos gave up 3 players: Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, and Noah Fant. 2 first-round draft picks, 2 second-round draft picks, and a 5th-round pick in exchange for Russell Wilson and a 4th-round choice. And this thing blew up in their face spectacularly, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, it was the biggest blow up. Honestly, can you think of a bigger blow up when you're thinking about this?
Not
like
when it comes to
trade?
Denver sports and trades.
Yeah, with a trade and you had Russ in here, and he just changed the whole dynamic up in the locker room. What I heard was just like everything was being changed up, and how he would approach things as just a superstar, and paparazzi looked like they're around, and he had his own office, and some of his teammates didn't have his number and couldn't get his number. If they wanted to get a hold of him, he had to call the secretary. So, like, it was things like that where it's like it just kind of blew up in Denver's face. And it was just a bad time for the Denver Broncos, and they paid Russ a lot of money up front to be the franchise quarterback here.
Yeah, before he ever played a down of a 5-year, $246 million contract, he was released. Broncos ate that $85 million, and he spent 2024 with the Steelers. He's now on the Giants. This is from James Merrilat at denversports.com, okay? This is from James.
Oh, yeah, James. That's Russ's biggest supporter.
Well, this is going to shock you what he wrote here, okay? He says, to say it turned out badly would be unbelievably inaccurate. The trade was an unmitigated disaster. But for a while, especially on that crazy day in March of 2022, the Broncos had hope. That's why few things in the history of Denver sports have been even bigger news than Russell Wilson coming to the Mile High City, and that's why it was milestone number 7 on this list. I mean, there was billboards all across town, like welcome Russ to the Mile High. Like people were excited. And then that summer, it was like the summer of Russ on Instagram, right? He had to post a new Instagram story every day. And then the viral video of Broncos Country, let's ride.
That's right.
And then he looked, I'm not trying to be mean, but he looked chubby, looked a little out of shape, looked overweight. And then he and Nathaniel Hackett just never clicked. And the thing went totally down the tubes because Sean Payton never wanted to work with him either. You're right. I can't think of a moment where the fan base was so excited and then so let down. Not over a span of years, literally in a span of like 9 months. We're like, wow, this did not work.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at it and you're like, everybody had hopes of getting back to the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl. And like, how did that feel? And it didn't work out. And it sucks. And that's what happens. Russ is not the same Russ as when he was going 10 years ago. And I think that we had to remember that. And that's the exact same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Who's to say Aaron Rodgers would have came in here and did the same thing as Russ? He did it with the Jets. So
yeah, he would have worked with Hackett, but he worked with Hackett in New York, and that didn't work either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, George Payton hired Hackett with the hopes of trading for Aaron Rodgers, and instead ended up trading for Russell Wilson. A massive moment. I understand why it's 7 on this list, but just a moment that, I'm hoping number 6 through 1s are like, we're celebrating championships, not this one.
I'm hoping so too. But you know what? In the end, we got our franchise quarterback. Bo Nix is in the building. We're all happy, and we can move on.
Well, it's kind of like when Josh McDaniels came in and blew out Jay Cutler. You never land Peyton Manning if that doesn't happen, kind of thing. So sort of philosophical, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, but everything happens for a reason if that's how you want to live your life. So we've only got 6 left. Where is Phillip Lindsay back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons going to land on this list?
That's not going to land on this list, Will. That's not going to land. We're talking about high milestones and stuff like that. It was a great thing for me, but like for everybody, I'm not landing on no list of James Merrilat.
I was just having a little fun. Hey, it was great. It was great. But yes, unfortunately, like winning Super Bowl 32 is probably going to be a hair higher. You can read about this at denversports.com. The Nuggets made a controversial decision last night.